My name is Jason Thompson. I'm 28, a software engineer, and trust me, getting here wasn't a walk in the park. I grew up in an ordinary middle-class family, worked my ass off to get my degree, and now I'm married to the love of my life, Sarah. We've been together for 2 years, and everything seemed perfect, except for one thing. Eleanor Blackwood, my mother-in-law. Picture this: a wealthy, sharp-tongued woman who thrives on control, convinced she knows what's best for everyone. That's Eleanor, in a nutshell. "Jason, darling, when are you going to get a real job?" she'd ask, sipping from her delicate teacup, her voice dripping with condescension. I bit my tongue, forcing a polite smile. "Eleanor, I am working. I'm a software engineer at a tech startup." "Oh, that little startup. How quaint," she said, her smile sharp as glass. "But surely you want more from my Sarah." It was always like this, every interaction a subtle jab, a quiet dismissal. And yeah, deep down, I felt the sting. I was working at a small startup, barely making enough to keep our future afloat. Sarah and I had dreams, buying a house, starting a family. But with what I was earning, that was a long shot. One night, after another excruciating dinner with Eleanor, Sarah, and I were lying in bed. I turned to her, the weight of my frustration finally bubbling over. "Babe, I think it's time I start looking for something bigger. Higher paying." Her face lit up, her eyes full of hope. "Really? That's amazing, Jason. I know you've been unhappy at the startup." "Yeah," I nodded. "It's time. I want to give us the life we deserve." The next day, I braced myself and told Eleanor. To my surprise, she didn't tear me down. Quite the opposite. "Oh, Jason, that's wonderful news," she said, her eyes gleaming with something I couldn't quite place. "I have so many connections in the tech world. I'd be happy to help you." I should have known. I should have seen it, the way her lips curved in that too sweet smile. But I was desperate. Desperate to prove I could provide for Sarah, desperate to win her mother's approval. So, I accepted her help. And then, things started to change. I was landing interviews at top-tier companies, Fortune 500 firms. Sarah was thrilled. "I'm so proud of you, Jason. No matter what happens, we're in this together." Together, I echoed, feeling invincible for the first time in a long time. I had an interview lined up with a tech giant. This could be it. My shot. But when I arrived, the receptionist gave me a confused look. "I'm sorry, sir, but we don't have any interviews scheduled today." I stared at her, heart sinking. "But I got a confirmation email." She shrugged, looking sympathetic. There must have been a mistake. It wasn't just a one-time thing. Interview after interview got mysteriously canceled. Emails went missing. I started doubting myself, my skills, my future. One night, as I sat on the couch, Sarah tried to comfort me. "Don't give up, Jason. You're brilliant. The right opportunity will come." I wanted to believe her, but my confidence was shot. Then came the night everything changed. We were at Eleanor's house for dinner when I overheard something that made my blood run cold. From the hallway, I heard her voice, low and conspiratorial. "Yes, Jason Thompson. Make sure he doesn't get the interview." "No, we can't have him moving up, can we?" My stomach dropped. Was she sabotaging me? The next morning, another interview was canceled, and I watched Eleanor's face as Sarah told her. That smug little smile, it was all I needed to know. She was behind it. She was pulling the strings. I couldn't keep it to myself anymore. I told my best friend, Mike, everything. "That's messed up, dude," he said, shaking his head. "We need to catch her in the act." We hashed a plan. Mike would pose as a hiring manager for a fake tech firm, and we'd set a trap. I'd apply, and Eleanor, being who she was, would swoop in to help, or rather, to sabotage. We'd record everything. I casually mentioned the job to her one afternoon. It's at this up-and-coming firm. Sounds like a great opportunity. Eleanor's eyes gleamed. Oh, how wonderful, Jason. I'm sure you'll do splendidly. We waited. Anticipation gnawed at me, fear twisting in my gut. What if I was wrong? What if I was just being paranoid? Deep down, I knew Eleanor had been out to get me from the start. She saw me as a threat, someone unworthy of her precious daughter. Now I was going to prove it. I just needed hard evidence before blowing everything up, because this wasn't just about me anymore. Sarah noticed the tension, her gaze filled with concern. Jason, what's going on? You've been acting strange. I hated keeping her in the dark, but I needed something concrete before I dropped this bombshell. It's nothing, babe. Just nervous about the job hunt. She squeezed my hand, her smile warm and reassuring. It'll work out. I believe in you. If only she knew. But soon, very soon, the truth would come out. As Mike and I finalized our plan, I felt a pang of sadness. This could change everything. My relationship with Sarah, her relationship with her mother. But I had to know the truth and Eleanor. She had to face the consequences of her actions. The day had finally come. I put on my best poker face and headed to Eleanor's for our weekly dinner. Sarah was running late from work, so it was just me and Eleanor, the dragon lady. I looked her dead in the eye as I spoke. Great news. I've got an interview with Quantum Tech Solutions tomorrow. Her expression barely shifted, but I caught the flicker in her eyes, the telltale glint of something darker. Oh, how wonderful, Jason. I'm sure you'll do your best. Her voice oozed false sincerity. I forced a smile. Thanks. I'm really excited about this one. The next day, Mike and I set up in his apartment, ready to catch Eleanor in the act. My palms were sweaty as Mike dialed her number, his voice perfectly calm and professional. Mrs. Blackwood, this is David Chen from Quantum Tech Solutions. I'm calling about Jason Thompson's application. I held my breath, waiting. Then Eleanor's voice came through, syrupy sweet. Oh, Mr. Chen, how lovely to hear from you. Yes, Jason is my son-in-law. Mike kept his composure. We're considering him for a position, and we're wondering if you could provide a reference. A pause. Then Eleanor's true colors showed. Mr. Chen, I wouldn't recommend Jason for any position above entry level. He's lazy, unmotivated, and frankly, not very bright. He's been coasting on my daughter's success for years. I'd hate to see a reputable company like yours waste time on him. I felt the heat rise in my chest as I listened to her tear me apart. Mike hung up, his eyes wide. Dude, we got her. I nodded, a mix of anger and vindication flooding through me. Yeah, we did. That evening, I steeled myself for the confrontation. In Eleanor's pristine living room, I played the recording, watching her face morph from smug to shocked, and finally, furious. How dare you? She screeched, her voice shrill. This is entrapment. I stood my ground. No, Eleanor. This is the truth. You've been sabotaging my career from the very beginning. Why? Because you can't stand the idea of me being successful. Her face twisted in indignation. I was only trying to protect Sarah. You're not good enough for her. That's not your decision to make, I shouted, anger finally bubbling to the surface. Just then, Sarah walked in, confusion etched across her face. What's going on? I took a deep breath. Sarah, there's something you need to hear. I pressed play again, the room filled with Eleanor's venomous words. Sarah's face went from confused to horrified to furious. Mom, how could you? She whispered, her voice trembling with betrayal. Eleanor reached for her, but Sarah recoiled. Sweetie, I was only thinking of you. No. Sarah's voice cracked like a whip. You were thinking about yourself, about your control, your ego. The next few minutes were a blur, shouting, tears, accusations. Sarah, strong and resolute, stood by me through it all. "We're leaving, Mom. Don't call us. Don't try to explain. Just don't." We packed our things from the guest house in record time. Eleanor alternated between begging and threatening, but we tuned her out. As we loaded the last box into the car, she made one final plea. "Sarah, please. He'll never be able to provide for you like I can. Don't throw everything away for him." Sarah turned, her eyes blazing. "No, Mom. Jason loves me for who I am, not what I can do for him. That's more than I can say for you." With that, we drove off, leaving Eleanor and her toxic manipulations behind. The next few weeks were tough. Sarah struggled with the fallout of cutting ties with her mother, and I couldn't help but feel guilty, even though I knew it wasn't my fault. "I'm sorry you had to choose," I said one night as we lay in bed, the weight of everything pressing down on me. Sarah cupped my face in her hands. "Jason, I didn't choose you over her. I chose us. I chose truth and love over manipulation and control. Don't ever apologize for that." Her words gave me strength. I threw myself back into the job hunt, this time free from Eleanor's toxic influence. It was like a weight had been lifted. Eleanor tried to reach out, tearful voicemails, guilt-ridden texts, but we stood firm. "We can revisit this in the future," Sarah told her in one final message. For now, we needed space, a lot of it. Sarah and I were healing, growing, and looking forward to a future free from toxic influences. You know that feeling when everything just clicks? That's how it felt the day I landed a job at Technova. After months of grinding and setbacks, I finally got the break I deserved. No sabotage, no strings attached. Just my skills and determination paying off. Fast forward 2 years, and what a ride it's been. I've been thriving at Technova, climbing the ranks faster than I ever imagined. My ideas for AI integration in cloud systems. They're no longer just theories. They're revolutionizing how we do business. One afternoon, while I was in my office going over reports, my boss, Liam, walked in. "Jason, got a minute?" "Sure. What's up?" He tossed a file onto my desk. "We're looking at acquiring a smaller tech firm. They're struggling, but their client list is gold. I want you to lead the acquisition team." I flipped open the file, and my stomach dropped. Blackwood Tech. Eleanor's company. "You okay?" Liam asked, noticing my reaction. I forced a smile. "Yeah, just surprised. I know this company." "Great. That'll give us an edge. Meeting's set for next week." As he left, my mind was spinning. Karma, right. The day of the meeting arrived, and I walked into the conference room to find her, Eleanor Blackwood. She looked older, more worn than I remembered. Her eyes widened as they met mine. "Jason, what are you?" I cut her off, my voice smooth and professional. "Mrs. Blackwood, I'm leading the acquisition team for Technova. Shall we begin?" The meeting was tense. Eleanor tried to catch my eye several times, but I kept things strictly business. When we wrapped up, she cornered me in the hallway. "Jason, please, can we talk? I've changed. I swear. How's Sarah?" I met her gaze, my voice cold. "Mrs. Blackwood, this is a business meeting. My personal life is not up for discussion." The acquisition went through without a hitch. I led the restructuring of Blackwood Tech, streamlining operations and integrating their systems with ours. Eleanor. She was offered early retirement. Last I heard, her reputation in the tech world was in shambles. 5 years later, life's better than I ever could have imagined. Sarah and I have a beautiful little girl, Emma, with another on the way. We bought our dream house last year, a far cry from the tiny apartment we first moved into after cutting ties with Eleanor. I'm still at Technova, now the youngest VP in company history. Eleanor has reached out a few times over the years. We stay civil for Emma's sake, but that's where it ends. Sarah and I are firm in our decision to keep distance. One day, Sarah caught me staring at an old family photo from before everything fell apart. "Penny for your thoughts?" she asked, wrapping her arms around me. I smiled, turning to face her. "Just thinking about how far we've come." There were times I almost believed what Eleanor said about me. Sarah kissed me softly. "But you didn't give up. You believed in yourself when no one else did." And that's the real lesson in all this. Folks, it's not about revenge or karma. It's about believing in yourself, even when the world seems stacked against you. It's about surrounding yourself with people who lift you up, not tear you down. As for Eleanor, I hope she's found peace. I really do. But more importantly, I hope she's learned that you can't control everything, or everyone, in life. Sometimes, you've just got to let go and let people find their own path. Me? I'm just grateful for every day I get to wake up next to Sarah, kiss Emma good morning, and head off to a job I love. Life's good, and I wouldn't change a thing about how I got here. Now, before I go, I've got a question for you. If you were in Sarah's shoes, would you have cut ties with your mother completely, or tried to maintain some form of relationship despite her actions? It's a tough choice, right? Family versus personal growth and happiness. Drop your thoughts in the comments below. I'm really curious to hear what you do in this situation. Thanks for sticking around for the ride. If you enjoyed this story, don't forget to like and subscribe for more. Trust me, you won't want to miss what's coming next. Catch you in the next one.